Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Town Talk Tampa Bay. I'm your host, Sharon Preston Folter, and today I am very honored and happy to have as my guest Michele Rayner. She is running for the Florida House of Representatives District 70 seat. Wengay Newton will be vacating that seat. Good morning, Michele.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Tired. A lot of Juneteenth events happening yesterday and today, but doing really well.
Well, you know what? So thankful that you are with me and really want to hear all about you
Okay.
because you are no stranger to media. You've been in the limelight for a long time in your career. Michele is a civil rights and social justice attorney and has worked on some very high profile cases. Michele, tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, as you said, I am an attorney. I have my own firm. It's called Civil Liberty Law. And through that firm, I handle criminal defense cases and civil rights cases. And one of my law partners, and who is also my mentor, is someone who is not a stranger to you, Sharon, Benjamin Crump. Attorney Benjamin Crump. So he is one of my law partners as well. So I'm of counsel with his firm, the Ben Crump Law Firm. And so what we do is that we really, when I started my career as an attorney, I always said I want to treat my clients the way that I would want myself or a family member to be treated. And then, it kind of just evolved into this practice. I never started out wanting to be a civil rights attorney. I just wanted to be a good old defense attorney. And even before that, when I was in law school, I wanted to be a transactional attorney. I'm not really going to go into the courtroom. I'm not really going to do all of those things. And I had the opportunity to intern at the public defender's office in Palatka, Florida, which is a small town in Putnam County. And I realized during that time that not only there were two fights that we were fighting. We were fighting the criminal justice system, but we're also fighting for folks' civil rights. And then I eventually came back home, worked as an assistant public defender, and went from there and then ended up opening my own firm. And really what we focus on is protecting folks' rights. And I think for me, running for State House District 70 is the next natural progression of my career. I joke, and one of my kind of mentees has said to me, she said, Miss Michele, you're not new to this, you're true to this. And I think it's true. I mean, it's just the work that I've been doing. I don't have to get ready to do this kind of work. I don't have to get ready to advocate. It's work that I've consistently been doing, especially even during this moment of the coronavirus and, the Black Lives Matter resurgence, because it's always been here, right? But right. The resurgence of the movement, and I think the wider consciousness and awareness that's surrounding that, right? Because there was a time, Sharon, you and I both know, when you said Black Lives Matter, I mean, it was like, oh, what are you talking about? And so now for people, having that consciousness about it. So I'm really happy to be able to be in this moment. I'm happy to be able to walk with folks and be able to, hopefully in the State House, lead them to a better Florida, a Florida that we've all envisioned specifically for District 70.
Now, in District 70, you have a lot of territory to cover.
Yes.
These districts are drawn like, pop art. Right. All over the place. So your district has Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, a little bit of all of that, and a little bit of Sarasota.
Exactly. So on Twitter, maybe a couple of weeks ago, Ben Freeman, he works with Chris King. Him and a couple other folks were talking about some of the most gerrymandered districts in the state of Florida. And they showed that obviously district HD70, and they compared it to like the genie in the lamp. And it's funny, but it's like sad funny, right? Because we know why it was redistricted, why it was drawn to ensure and suppress folks' votes, which is their voice. And, redistricting is coming up. And,
Yeah.
I think it's super important to make sure that we have people who understand the law, who understand the statutes, who understand the difference between a permissive clause of may and, a clause of shall, what that means. And so, it is, you have to understand the reasons. And I think, Sharon, I have to talk to you about it, but the reasons why it was drawn and why folks felt that it was important to restrict people's voices and their votes.
Well, absolutely, because we're seeing now, people speaking up and things are changing. Like you said, saying Black Lives Matter a couple of years ago, you were looked as, extremely radical.
Correct.
And then we're starting to see, what people have been saying has been photographed and videoed and put out there. And the frequency that we're seeing these injustices and inequities happen. And then the murder of George Floyd and the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of watching that happen just kind of really put it all into place. Now saying Black Lives Matter, people are understanding if Black lives don't matter, then all lives don't matter. And that in that context. So, speaking up for that district, and the reason why I bring up the size of it and all where it goes, there's unique needs, Hillsborough all the way down to Sarasota. But that district is, predominantly Democratic, almost evenly split racially. And so, I can see that there is one unified need, but there's just some specific things that need to happen for everyone. So, it's a unique district to manage. What are some of the things that you envision enhancing or changing for District 70?
Well, one of the things, and I want to say you're absolutely right. So, that's the part of the district that's so just interesting to me, because what is important to Manatee, quite frankly, may not be important to South St. Pete, South Pinellas, right? And what's important to North Sarasota and what's important to Hillsborough. But one of the things is I think that there's a common theme and common needs that are throughout the district, specifically in South Pinellas and specifically in Manatee, when we think about equity and education. Right. And I say, our platform is based in equity. It's not based on, well, I just think that we should have adequate, education. Well, I think that that's the bare minimum. Adequate just means that you just gonna get just enough to get along. Right. And I think that there has to be equitable education, equitable policies within education. One of the things that's super important is that what is done in one zip code can be done in another zip code, and where you live should not define the quality of education that you have. Where you live should not define the quality of housing that you have access to. Where you live should not define if you have access to clean drinking water. Where you live and what job you work, and even as an essential worker, should not define if you have the ability to have health care, or if you have to make a choice between, maybe eating or paying your rent and getting your bills paid. And so while there are very different needs specifically within each county, those are the common needs that are through the thread of District 70. And I think that these are aspects in areas that I've worked on. I'm local counsel for the NAACP National Defense Fund, right? So one of the things we do is we work with school districts and we hold their feet to the fire when we think about discipline policy and how their discipline policy, disproportionately affects Black and brown students, right? Why are these kids getting suspended for, infractions that could have been happened in the school, in this classroom setting, where you could have dealt with that in the classroom setting? And then that's how we see how the school to prison pipeline, that's invariably funneling children into that pipeline. But wait, what if we actually could, maybe, fund public schools and actually give them money and, reroute about money that's being used for all of these different things. One of the things, Sharon, and I know I get super passionate about it, but one of the things that's crazy to me is that we have this whole idea for all these toll roads to come down through Florida and connect us to Georgia and all of those things. And I get that people want to grow, and I get that people want to, have that infrastructure. But we were able to find, I believe it was over $140 billion for this. And you're telling me we cannot fund public schools? You're telling me that people cannot have access to affordable housing? You're telling me that this is like the bare minimum, right? And I don't want just adequate. It has to be equitable. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. And that's all I think that people are really wanting to see.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. There throughout that whole, this whole region, those are common areas that everybody can agree and want to see changed. And so continuing the fight and to make things happen so that, there is equity in housing, in education and healthcare.
Criminal justice system.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So, as far as the COVID response,
right.
In your opinion, how have we done as a state, and how have we done in your district? And I spend a lot of time in Pinellas County for my work, and I know that especially the city of St. Pete has really been rigorous as far as looking to restart the economy in a thoughtful way. I'm not sure that has been the case throughout, but how do you see it?
So, I want to start with the fact that you're absolutely right. Pinellas County, especially the city of St. Pete, has been very rigorous. And that's also kind of going into why I think that the state should never be able to preempt local governments, right? Because I think that local governments know what is best for their area and their people. And there has to be like a compelling state interest that the state government should be able to intervene. And I think for me, when I look at it, I look at even the inception of when we started realizing like, oh, this is like a pandemic for real. This isn't a hoax. This isn't like, one party saying that there's something. And I think that we unfortunately had a governor that did not rely on facts, played a little bit of politics. And I think that politics was at the cost of a lot of people. We still have numbers that are rising. I know that myself and a handful of community activists within St. Pete and in Manatee got together and started just providing community response. And I will, definitely give kudos to Pinellas County government, to city of St. Pete, and even Manatee County government, just of their response, because I think that the people on the ground in these actual counties and cities knew like, these numbers aren't right. These numbers aren't, what we're seeing and what we're getting a sense of. It's unfortunate that we have opened up so soon. And I'll say that because, listen, I'm a business owner. So not only am I a lawyer, but I have my own small business. And so I know what it is to need to be able to pay folks, to pay their health care, to make sure you have money coming in. So I don't say that like snarkily or like, lightly, like, oh, I don't know why you just opened up. I say that with that understanding of, I know what it is to have to be on the hook for those kinds of things. I know what it is to need to go into your office. I know what it is to have to reroute your whole practice or business to be virtual. So I don't say that with
being light.
Yeah, being light, right? But I also feel like that if we were going to reopen, it needed to be in a much more measured way that was based on science. I think that the way that we've reopened has been kind of just like, oh, we're just going to reopen. Here you go. And that has been bothersome to me. Sorry, my hair this morning. That's been bothersome to me because I think that it hasn't been in a way that we can prevent the spike. And maybe, of course, the governor said, well, the spike has come because more people are getting tested. Well, we need more people to get tested. So there's that, because we need to know what we're dealing with and what it looks like. I have to give a shout out to, City of St. Pete, Mayor Kreisman, when, he's saying, listen, like if you're working in a city, for city government, city building, you have to wear a mask. And I think that he's probably going to follow the lead of Mayor Castor over in Tampa, who's saying, listen, if you're out at a public, place or, whatever, you're going to have the face mask on as well. I think that we've made the mask political, and it's not. It's about safety. It is about, if I care enough for my other human, I'm going to make sure that I wear a mask. It's not even just for me. I'm going to make sure that I wear a mask. Sharon, if we were together right now, to wear a mask to make sure you wouldn't get sick.
Right, absolutely. And you're right. People have made it political. I was out the other day, and I met with someone, and we were having a conversation. They had their mask around their chin. I had my mask on, and they were like, well, I'm well, I made a statement like that. And I said, I'm wearing the mask out of respect for you. And they didn't expect that answer, and they put the mask on. Oh well, I'm doing the same thing. Yes, it's a consideration, and we don't have all the answers, but what we do know is it is transmitted through, particles in the air. So why take that chance?
Correct. And I think we're dealing with a disease that we don't, like you said, we don't have all the answers to. We don't really know that much about. Well, a lot of the information that we have, we've been told is speculative, right? So, scientists are trying to keep up with the information, new information as it comes, as more studies are having being done. So I think that we owe it to each other just to take the politics out of it. We owe it to each other to say, hey, listen, you know what? I don't really know what's going on. Let's stay home as much as we can. And I say that as someone who's been out, right? I've been out in the streets protesting, but I also know that I wear a mask and I have a whole protocol that I do when I get home and all of those kinds of things. But I think that, we owe it to each other to try to remain as safe as possible and try to socially distance as much as possible.
Absolutely. So, Michele, what do you really want us to know additionally about you, and why would you want us to vote for you?
Wow. So, Sharon, you're just going to ask me two compound questions at once. So, one of the things I want y'all to know about me is that to me, that this is just part of my life's work. One of the things that I was raised with, too much is given, much is required. And so I want folks to know that if I'm able to earn your vote, that, I'm going to be accountable, I'm going to be accessible, and I'm going to be walk with transparency and walk with integrity. Those are the themes and the principles that guide me in my life. Also, I want folks to know that this is work that I have done, work that I will continue to do, work that I've done even outside of running for office. And even right now in this moment, I've been able to work with Matt Morgan, the son of John Morgan, so Morgan and Morgan. And we've been able to establish a bail fund in Pinellas County that was initially for the protesters, but now is actually going to be for folks who are in custody on low-level crimes, but they're not able to get out. And they're going to be able to bond out and be with their families, because we know that the ramifications of the cash bail system, right? And so this is the kind of work that I've done and I'm going to continue to do. I'm qualified. I'm ready to lead on day one. Not just even barring, the things I've done. I've been an aide to Senator Athenia Joyner. I've been worked in, as an attorney and own my own small business. But with that, I feel like that I've just put myself out there. I've been in the community. And I think right now we have a moment to really push Florida forward. I think we have a moment to really bring some change and build on the momentum that we're seeing in the country and we're seeing in the state. And we need folks who've are not afraid to speak truth to power, and who've done that, and who have stood up when it wasn't comfortable, and who have done this work when it wasn't sexy and it wasn't fun, and it wasn't like, oh, we're protesting, oh, we're saying Black Lives Matter, but who've consistently served the community. And that's what I want to be able to continue to do in Tallahassee. I'm able to touch, one family here and one family there, and in the capacity as a defense attorney and civil rights attorney. But I want to be able to do that not only for District 70, but for the entire state of Florida, because when I vote, I don't just vote for District 70. I vote for the entire state of Florida, but specifically keeping in mind the folks of District 70. So I am working every day to earn people's votes. I don't take it for granted. I understand that, I have been in the media in the limelight, but that's not what I'm running on. I'm running on because I believe that it's time for real strong leadership. It's time for someone who is willing to walk with the people and partner with folks, and for all of us collectively to bring change to District 70, and for folks to be able to have equitable and live thriving lives. And so that's why I'm running. That's why I hope to earn your vote.
Absolutely. And how can people get in touch with you? Are you campaigning outside or mostly virtually?
So we're doing a little bit of both. So the campaigning that we're doing outside is we're going to events and those kinds of things. I'm not really comfortable knocking on doors. So my mom is my North Star. My mom is about 75 years old. She's a super voter. Her and my dad are super voters. So I asked her, I said, Mom, if I came and knocked on your door, right, and I had the face mask on and the mask, she's like, don't do that. So she said, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. Usually my mom is, she's good instincts about this. So what we've been doing is, we've been out in the public, and we're going to have, the robust mail plan and all those kinds of things. But if people want to find out, they can go to www.Michele with one L, because there's another Michele, so Michele with one L, Michele for Florida. So it's all spelled out, MicheleForFlorida.com, and it is scrolling at the bottom. And you can go there. You're going to be able to click on my socials and be able to connect with me. You can send me an email, very responsive. I was going to give you out my cell phone number, but everyone's like, please stop. I give out my cell phone number, all that. So if you email me, you'll get my cell phone number. Okay. But I want people to know, I'm accessible. I'm very accessible. I want them to know you will be able to get in touch with me. I'm not going to be this, elected official that you see me only during campaign times, right? And I share with this, Sharon, if I can be 100% real, I don't have to do this. I do pretty good as a trial attorney, right? I do pretty good as a defense attorney. I'm busy enough, but for me, I think that when you see that there's a need, and instead of always saying well, I just wish we just had this leader that would just do this, this, and this, and you're kind of looking okay. And then you realize well, if not you, then who? Right. And that's really kind of where I came from. So I want folks to know that I'm in this to serve, to merely serve people. That is what I'm in this for. And so I welcome y'all to reach out to me. I welcome y'all to hold me accountable. If there's something that you think I've said even now and you want to discuss, I'm open to those discussions. I never shy away from the difficult, conversations, because that's how we grow. That's how we get better.
Absolutely. I can see that you walk the talk. I can absolutely see that. And you're very passionate about, taking it to the next level. So I wish you all the positive energy that I can send to you. And I'm just so appreciative that you're taking the time to speak with us. As we get closer, I'd love to speak with you more if there's that opportunity. And I also want to just say, when you mentioned the fund, the bail fund that you developed with Matt Morgan, people really don't realize what horror that is, the bail system, and how people are caught up in that system and have jail time only because they couldn't pay a small fine, and then it escalates. So, kudos to you on that. Thank you. Michele, thank you so much. Everyone.
Thank you. Oh. I'm so appreciative. Thank you. I'm appreciative. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you allowed me this space. I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And you have her contact information. Look her up on social media, and just have a dialogue, start a dialogue. I wish you all the best, and we'll stay in touch.
Definitely. Let's stay in touch. Thank you, Sharon, so much. I appreciate you.
Okay. Everyone, it's been Town Talk Tampa Bay. The show airs every other Saturday on WSLR 96.5 LPFM in Sarasota. Take care, guys.